My latest book is this novel, The Butt, and it's a strange marriage between a Conradian heart of darkness and a very, very modern post-colonial predicament. The narrative concerns this guy, Tom Brodzinski, who's obviously American, but it's never stated, and he's in a strange, invented country that's a bit like Australia, a bit like Iraq, and he decides to give up smoking and flips the butt of his cigarette over the balcony where he's staying with his family, and it falls onto another man who it burns. And this other man, who's also American, but it's never really stated, is married to one of the indigenous people in this country and is subject to their tribal law. And as a result of this, Brodzinski has to journey into the interior in order to make reparations to this tribe. So that's the basic narrative. It's a picaresque, it's a journey into the heart of a kind of modern darkness. This evening we're at the Roundhouse, which is an old railway shed in Chalk Farm in North London that's been a venue on and off for many, many years. I remember coming here and I saw some of my first punk gigs here back in the mid to late 70s. But it now seems to have reconstituted itself as some kind of arts centre, performance centre, and I'm here to give a reading.
The Butt. Standing on one of the balconies of the Mimosa serviced apartments, Tom Brodzinski sucked on the moist filter tip of his cigarette and swore to himself it would be his last. For the 3 weeks of the Brodzinski's vacation, Tom had found the prohibitions on smoking in this vast and sun-baked country particularly intrusive. There were strident signs in and on every restaurant, bar and public building, threatening fines and imprisonment not only for smokers themselves, but even for those who, whether wittingly or not, allowed smoking to take place.
Well, I got the idea for this book because I was standing on the balcony of a hotel in northern Queensland in Australia where I was staying with my family and smoking a cigarette and thinking of giving up smoking, as I often do. And I'd been particularly kind of struck in Australia by the way in which the anti-smoking ordinances were pursued. This is a few years ago, and those sort of things have come in Britain now, but not quite to the extreme that they have them there. They actually have lines painted on the sidewalk outside public buildings determining where you can smoke.
It had all grated on Tom, turning those little interludes of cloudy self-absorption into hurried and unsatisfying liaisons with La Divina Nicotina.
On the page, the reader and the writer meet, shorn of gender, race, sexual identity, class, even nationality, whatever. It is an anonymous encounter. The novel is a kind of pre-modern chat room in that way. You can be your essential self in the context of reading. And I'm never too interested in who my readers are in the sense of where do they fit in the society. I leave that for people who are producing what I would call commercial books, who are trying to angle something towards a marketplace. And, over the years, I do a lot of public readings and I go around the place and I meet readers, and they're incredibly diverse. There is no, they're not kind of grumpy old men or grumpy old women or, young people wearing lycra or people with their hair in dreadlocks or, lesbians in bib and braces. They're heterogeneous, they're diverse.
I like the way he uses sentences with words that kind of never know otherwise, because I'm a sub-editor for a magazine, and so my whole job is cutting sentences down, cutting out extra words. So he's like the complete antithesis of that, which I quite like.
I think Willisoff is like a polymath, very clever, very dry, very funny.
I think he's very energetic, always imaginative, and always has an interesting look on life.
I love his style, his sardonic writing. I particularly like that in most writers.
I just think he's very erudite and witty, and it's very intelligent, and it's different to a lot of the entertainers you get nowadays.
Thanks, honey, the old man rasped, and the complacent tone of his voice summoned up Tom's righteous indignation reserves of which were generous to begin with and always easily replenished by the follies of his countrymen.
I don't know how it compares with what I've done before. I mean, in some ways, it's a rather more straightforward book. It's less tricksy. It's less, there are less kind of flights of fancy in it in a way. In a way, I think it's probably of a piece with the kinds of things I write. I mean, I think it's recognisably a Will Self book. I don't know. I think you'd be surprised if anybody else had written it. But I may not be the person best placed to comment on that. I tend to take a sort of shark's view of my writing. I just move forward.